Hey everyone, I hope everybody's doing well. Uh, God told me to put out this message for everybody, uh, to go ahead and put it out. That it's urgent, that everybody needs to be aware of it. Um, Everybody needs to know about it, that this is coming. It's sometime in our future. But he seemed very, very adamant this morning. Just to give a heads up, I've just been in constant prayer. God's kind of hiding me right now. He told me that he wants me to stay low. That's why I haven't been putting out any videos or on any of the stuff that he's talked about, because he's kind of told me to lay low, and not to do any of that type of stuff, just to um, pretty much just post my gospel videos on TikTok. But if he tells me to post on YouTube, then I'll post on YouTube. But he said that this needs to be put on here because um, people will need to see it, basically, and people in the future and stuff like that. But it's a warning for what's coming. But with further ado, basically, I've been restless for like the last 2 weeks. He's been waking me up every single morning. I've been having to, pray and a lot of different things that he's wanting me to do. But this particular morning, I went to sleep at probably 3 o'clock this morning, and then, it was a deep sleep. Like, I felt like I had like 15 hours of sleep. That's how potent this sleep was. And then he woke me up, and I kept on feeling restless. I was like, "Oh man, like, is there like, warfare going on? Like, like what's going on, guy? Like, why'd you wake me up?" And he's like, "Take note of the time." And I noticed it was 5:46 a.m. So I'm like, "Okay, 5:46 a.m." And he's like, "I need you to pray." So I prayed, and he's talking to me, and then all of a sudden, like, this vision just pops up. And when I tell you this vision is like a movie, it looks like one of those, if they were showing Avengers Endgame type of cinematic, uh, like the way it just flowed. It looked like a preview from an Avengers Endgame type movie. So the way the scene opened up, like it was, like a commercial or a preview, was it showed the Statue of Liberty, like the head decapitated. And sorry, my emails are going off. If that went through, let me see if I can kind of turn that down. I apologize, y'all. Okay, so it shows like the Statue of Liberty decapitated and laying kind of the head on the ground, and from what it looked like the head was underwater, and pieces of its face was like broken. Like the right side of it was like it had, I don't want to say chipped off, but like chunks of it, like somebody like mauled the side of it, was like off. And the crown that was on the Statue of Liberty was like broken. It was shattered on the ground in the water. And I'm like, what is this? As I'm like looking, I'm like, God, what is this? And he doesn't say anything. And it shows like a big American flag, like dark blue, dark white, dark red. It wasn't that vibrant color that you see from the American flag when it's dry and it's flowing in the sky, and it's very patriotic type of thing. Like, it was dismal blue, old fashioned red, like it had been uh, worn down, and the white was like, it wasn't pure white. It was sullied. It was soiled. It wasn't that perfect white, and it was that dark watercolor. and it flowed. The flag flowed over the Statue of Liberty's head, and I'm like, whoa, like what is this? Like, and it had like that water type of flow, like and it kind of just fell on the Statue of Liberty's head. And then as the preview showing, it then kind of turns and like shows like the body of the Statue of Liberty, and it's like the Statue of Liberty's body's like the legs have been ripped off, like the body's like on the ground, and everything else is like dark around it. Well, then it kind of like goes above the water, and it's like almost like, I don't want to say like it fast forwards on the scene, but like the sky is like burnt huey type orange with smoke, and there's fires everywhere, like everywhere, like smoke and fires like everywhere. And you can kind of see like buildings like charred and kind of poking out of the water, like there is poking out of the water and stuff like that. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, God, what is this? And he's just like, he's like, watch, like he's like, keep watching, So I'm watching the whole thing kind of like play out, and then there's this, like debris of like, it looks like meteorites or like leftover debris still falling from the sky, and it's just still landing and hitting towards the New York area, because this was New York. Like New York was underwater, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what is this? What is this about? Type of thing. And as you look at the water, and when I tell you this looks so real, it looked like a holographic like projection I was being shown. And you can see bodies just floating in the water. You see bodies trapped in cars. You see bodies trapped in buildings, lifeless, just like floating in the water, bodies on top of the water and stuff like that. You could still hear like the screaming of like people drowning. Like I could hear it in the vision. People running, yelling for help, and like, crying out for mercy. And I mean, it was I don't even want to say heart wrenching. It was just like my body kind of like I just went kind of like numb. Like as I'm watching this, like it went like a shock type of thing, because it's like I could hear it, like spiritually, like hear it, like the cries and the screams and the agony and the pain. And seeing that flag, kind of on the, like flowing over Statue of Liberty's, Statue of Liberty, like, which I know is demonic anyways, but it was like, whoa, like, and then God go, like I hear him, he's like, Sodom and Gomorrah. And he's like, I want you to name this video Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. That's the name of this video. So that's what I'm going to name it as I'm recording this. And he wanted me to get it out. So then as that's going on, you can still see like water still coming in and out at high altitudes going onto New York. And like, but there's still fire. Like the fire is so hot and so blazing in the New York that it can't get, like the water is drowning people and drowning, covering the whole state of New York. But at the same time, the fire is so potent and so powerful that the water's it's not putting it out, if that makes sense. Like there was fire and water everywhere. Buildings on fire, water covering the whole state of New York. And from what I was looking at and from what it looked like, the water wasn't receding. Like this was a permanent fixture. Like New York was never ever not going to be not underwater anymore. Like they were going to be permanently. It was going to be permanently underwater forever. And then I'm like, what is this? He's like, this is wormwood. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And he's like, this will be the whole East Coast. He's like, tell my people. Tell them to repent. He's like, a lot of lives are going to perish. A lot of people who haven't repented, had deliverance, who don't believe in Jesus Christ, that don't want to be saved, that love their flesh, don't like. He's like, tell my people, put the warning out, tell them to share this video. So I'm like, okay. So then, as I wasn't like, oh, okay, God. I'm like, all right, God, I got you, like, because my body's in shock, but I'm like in fear, because I'm just like, the devastation, words that I am saying right now cannot put. It's worse than any type of war you can like ever imagine in your life. Or it was carnage. Can't even describe what the scene looked like. Like literally end of the world type thing. Like this is that's what it looked like. So then it kind of shows, like it kind of does like a bounce back, like a flashback, like of like what happened. Like he kind of gave me bits and pieces of like what happened, and it showed like this old like I don't know. It was a white dude, kind of with like long white hair, white beard, and like he's in the city and he's like looking up, and you can see like the tsunami coming in his eyes. His eyes, like the shock of seeing the tsunami, just like I get, appear before him, because you could see the way he looked. He was, he was in shock. Like it was morbid. He didn't. It looked like he died on the spot from the shock of seeing the tsunami like right there upon him. And there was other people that looked the same way, like when they saw the tsunami and like the fire coming down or whatever. The mass destruction was so unparalleled to anything that you could think of. And the way it was being presented to me, like I said, like a holographic vision. Like you can see the bodies in the water. You can see the screams. You could hear the screams in the vision spiritually. Like you can feel it. You saw kids running and, parents grabbing their kids, and, people trying to cover, and like, I mean, it was so fast. It was like 3 o'clock, everything was okay. 3:01, they're getting hit with the tsunami and the impact of, the star coming down. And people didn't know how to take it. I mean, it was just one of those things. Like it was so unreal. There's nothing in this world to describe the carnage, the power, the sadness. You can see they didn't even have a chance to repent. They didn't even have a chance to regret. They didn't even have a chance to run. It was there. The news couldn't even report it fast enough. It was just there. It was like boom, boom. There was no Channel 6, Channel 11, you know, live at 2, or the report like what was going, like it was like boom, and then it was like bam. And the looks on everybody's faces, like I can, I almost wonder, you know, if I could point these people like at a lineup, like, you know, if there was like, they lined up, you know, like, do you remember these people, blah 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 blah, and like the pictures are like ingrained in my face of like, of what they look like, in a shock in their face, and the horror, and then like their bodies lifeless because their spirit left them immediately, like they died on the spot, and you can still see people inside their cars, you know, getting hit with the water, because it showed like boom boom boom, like 4 or 5 different angles, but like it was like within like 2 seconds, 3 seconds of like showing me like what was happening, and all over like the state of like New York, and fires were everywhere. Like it was so hot, like the fires were so potent that the water couldn't put the fires out. There was smoke, orange mist, orange like atmosphere, gray, dark. It was like tarnished, like nothing like I've ever seen before. And to hear the screams in my ear, like, and in my soul, like even now, like I feel it, like, and God's like, this is coming. And when I looked up the time, you know, later on, of like what 5:46 meant in the strong concordance, you know, it means, you know, like truly, indeed, like this is happening. This is going down. And you know, he just kept on echoing in my head, like as I'm watching the vision, Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. He's like, I want you to name this video Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. And I'm like, okay. And then it kind of shows like, it goes into like a the preview of the type of movie. Like it goes like, kind of shows back even further of like what was going on before the initial tsunami and the star falling. And it showed everybody just having a normal day. People watching TV, people at the restaurants, people walking around in a park, you know, people eating hot dogs and stuff like that. It was just like a normal day. And then it was like within 60 seconds everything changed. It wasn't a normal day anymore. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody, from my understanding, could do anything about it. And then it kind of goes like in a comic book, like flipping the pages and showing people watching TV and you know, living everyday life and stuff like that. But then it would also flip back like from the comic book, and it would flip forward and show the destruction of like what happened afterwards. And he's guys like, you know, this is gonna be the whole East Coast. Like everybody's gonna feel this. It doesn't matter where you're at in the world, everybody will feel this impact. It doesn't matter if you're in Europe. It doesn't matter if you are in Asia. It doesn't matter if you're in Japan, Australia, New Zealand, New Mexico, Antarctica, Canada, United States, wherever. Everybody will feel this. It's judgment. Like it's happening. It's coming. And then it would show like in the comic book of like what the Statue of Liberty looked like, and you know, everybody didn't have time to repent. At that very moment, you were, if you weren't right with God, at that very moment, it was over. So God was like, make sure you tell everybody. Make sure, tell them to share this. And I usually don't say, to share this, but I'm telling you right now, the fear of the Lord, of how awesome He is, and when He brings down the hammer, He doesn't bring the hammer down like men does. Like, His hammer is on scales of finality that we couldn't even comprehend. And He's like, I hear the cry. I hear my people crying out. He's like, I hear it. He's like, let them know, tell everybody, hey, get your heart posture right. Get your house in order. Literally, get your house in order. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's holding you from God, if there's any type of space between where it's holding you, any type of gray that's holding you from God, cut it loose. Don't put it above God. Don't put it above Jesus. It's not worth it. It really, really isn't. But hope everybody has a good day. He wanted me to put this out, so I'm putting it out. Hope everybody stays blessed. Get your house right. Get your heart right. Follow the line. God's going to keep His promises, but at the same time, do the things He needs you to do, because He always keeps His promises. But also be prepared for Him to come take you home if it's your time to get taken home. I don't know when the rapture is going to take place. A lot of people are saying a lot of different things, but you always need to take it to God. But I love y'all.